DC Multiverse!
What is it that you think of when you hear the word Doomsday? Do you think of this? Or this? Or even this? Does it remind you of the unfettered destruction of mankind and the world as we know it, leaving the human race all but extinct, left to live and scrounge in the ashes of what once was? Well, if that's the case, we're talking about the wrong Doomsday here. Because today, we are reviewing the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Doomsday Superman action figure 2-pack. Now, I picked this bad boy up at GameStop, and I'm really hoping that I like it. I mean, for $99.99, I'd better. And just for completionist's sake, here is the side of the package, and here is the back, showcasing an image of General Zod Doomsday and Superman. Okay, and now that both figures are out of the package, along with all of the accessories that came with them on the inside, let's take a closer look at the figures with their accessories, and along the way, I'm going to share with you things that I don't like about these figures, and things that I do like about them. So of course, for starters, they both come with a trading card, as is pretty much always, and here is the Superman card, and here is a look at the bio on the back. Gotham City's formidable, forcible vigilante takes on Metropolis' most revered modern-day savior, while a new threat quickly arises, putting mankind in greater danger than it's ever known before. That really wasn't a data file for Superman, was it? That was just a really brief Cole's notes of Dawn of Justice. And here is Doomsday, or as I call him, Zod's Day. And here is that data file on the back, and it's actually just the same thing. How lame. Like, they probably really should have given this version of Doomsday, which is not your regular version, some kind of explanation as to who he is and how he came to be. Anyway, the 2-pack also comes with 4 more alternate hands that you can switch on to Superman, swapping out the fists that came on the body, the come with me hand, the open relaxed hand, the pointy finger hand. Is he gonna point at Doomsday and be like, you, shut up and sit down? And a grabby hand to hold on to the spear, which is the next thing we're gonna look at. The spear looks pretty much more or less like the spear from Dawn of Justice, and it's got that big sharp clump of kryptonite in the end. This spear, as usual, for McFarlane's accessories that are swordly or long or staffs or whatever, it's skishy and bendy. It's a bendy spear. And that leaves us with just the 2 figures. I'm going to look at the Superman figure sorry, Soups, that's the kryptonite end. I'm going to look at the Superman figure first, and then move on to Doomsday. Okay, so clearly we know that we have seen this Henry Cavill Superman figure before, because it was released in the Justice League wave of figures previously. And it also would see a black-suited release as well. So here is my first Superman that I got that was this body buck. And I wasn't happy with the cape. I wanted to try to make a cloth goods cape for this figure. And so I drilled some holes and I shoved a wired cloth goods cape right down inside of them and tried to make it look as movie accurate as possible. But I mean, that's really not easy, being that in the movie, the cape really has a very specific way that it joins to the body. And not to mention that the cape itself really didn't work out that well. But what I'm trying to say is I wanted a cloth goods cape on this figure ever since it was first released. Well, here we are in the present, and they've given us just that. Only it's a little bit wonky the way that it attaches. I mean, it's fine tucking into the neckline if it was any other Superman, because that's actually how Superman's cape is supposed to attach to the rest of his uniform. It just tucks into his collar. But if you look at his shoulders here, you can actually notice that his cape attaches very differently. And I think they did their best, but they weren't able to attach the cape properly how it is supposed to be attached. So while I'm not entirely satisfied with how the cape was attached to the body, I am very happy that they've given us a cloth goods cape, and this bad boy is quite big. Like, there's enough cape here that it actually can flow over his shoulders a little bit. I'm pretty sure that this is the most cape that we've ever gotten with a McFarlane Toys Superman figure. So that is something that I actually overall do like very much. The suit itself, just like the previous figures, has a really nice texture to it. I really like the fact that they went ahead and added texturing to the suit here. And the S has all of the proper Kryptonian across the chest. You can see it right there. It's nice and shiny. I love the S symbol on this guy. I do kind of wish they had added the paint to the subtler details of the suit, like the wrist area and also the side of the suit. Being that this is a reused sculpt, we also have these two protruding bits here at his abdomen, and I've never really understood why they're even there. They kind of stick out a little bit. They're weird. And the facial profile is pretty much the same as all of the other releases of this Superman figure. It's been painted pretty much the same. The hair's the same color. You know, this one's actually really neatly done. The eyes are placed really nicely, but it is the exact same facial profile and portrait as the other releases. So not really much to talk about there. And when it comes to the articulation of this figure, I mean, those of us who collect this action figure line pretty much know what to expect. The torso is very, very well articulated in all directions except for forward. Pretty much nothing forward. The waist is really tight, but you can get a full range of motion out of it. And when you combine the waist and the torso and then his head sculpt, which is on that rounded ball joint, you have a pretty reasonable style flight pose. Just don't expect much in the way of him being able to look down because the ab crunch is, well, pretty much non-existent. His arms are ratcheted with those rounded hinges and the sockets there. You got the bicep swivels for the arm. You got double jointed elbows, rounded hinge for the wrists, all basically status quo for McFarlane Toys action figures and fairly well articulated as well. Down here, you've got that groin for McFarlane Toys, the ratcheted groin. You can hear it clickety-clacking. He has just a little bit of the thigh cut action, but not really enough to keep someone like me satisfied. Leg goes back that far, leg goes forward that far, and out. Both of them. That's about as far as he can do the splats. So the legs are not really super articulated. You get down to the knees, and as always, we have double joints that are actually pretty good. Great for flight poses. Big, round, ugly ball hinges that I was hoping for this release he would consider possibly resculpting them into like the shaped round hinges, but hey, you can't have everything you ask for. That's how articulated they are, and of course they pivot, and of course you have the toe articulation. So all in all, not the greatest articulation, but articulation that we've seen before, and it's usable. Yeah, and just for some quick size comparisons before we move on to Darkseid, I have him wedged in between the Fonjoy Batman v Superman Batman action figure and the McFarlane one. And wow, this one, I mean, looks much smaller than I recall him looking. Like, he should be bigger, right? And now here he is in between the Justice League movie Flash, as well as the Flash from the Flash movie. And here he is in between Shazam and the change in the power structure of the DCU Black Adam. Yeah, sure thing, Dwayne. And here he is in between Bendy Trident Aquaman and his cousin, Kara Zor-El, from the Flash movie. Okay, and now let's take a look at Doomsday. Oh darn. Hang on. Doomsday. So this Doomsday figure is a 100% new sculpt. I haven't seen these pieces used anywhere. And this really is quite a decent sculpt for this figure. Hold on, let me zoom in just a little bit more to see if I can really give you a peekaroo at all of the nooks and crannies and crevices in this figure. They've done a great job sculpting this guy. He looks fantastic. Very much so. Some of the details that perhaps didn't show up quite as much in the movie being these here forearm protrusions on both sides of his body, as well as the protrusions on his back and his spiny protrusions showing through as well. They all look pretty great. There's a brown wash over the entire figure. Take note, front and back. I'm not really sure exactly what they're going for with the gold paint. Like, I think that these are just supposed to be highlights on the figure for the most part, but we can see that they've also painted, you know, some of the spiny protrusions the same color. Overall, though, I think that the figure does look really nice, even with the yellow paint highlights all over it that at first almost made me not want to buy the figure, but when seeing it in person, I was like, ah, they actually don't look too bad. One thing's for sure, this guy definitely needs to clean his toenails. Give him a clipping, too. Doomsday's face isn't too bad. I think it looks pretty much like he does in the movies. Got that really upset, grimacy, teethy frown. And they've continued with that kind of yellowish gold paint on his head as well, over his brow and around the side of his head. And I think they did a pretty good job getting the structure of his skull right. So yeah, I give the portrait a passing grade for sure. As for the comparison with this Doomsday, well, I've got him compared to the regular release of Doomsday. That's the one that came in the Superman Doomsday 2-pack. And also we have the Kryptonite Doomsday on the other side. And finally, I've got him here next to Doomsbat from Dark Knight's Metal. And finally, I know the question that everyone is dying to know the answer to is how articulated is this guy? He's big, and sometimes these bigger figures are really well articulated, and sometimes they are not so much. Well, the head gets some, but it's really not that great. It kind of is a little abysmal, if you ask me. The shoulders, they got some movement in there, you know, just to kind of roll around, but not really that much. They're on rounded hinges, and so that's what you get for the T. He can stretch his arms all the way up in the air with them, but yeah, they are definitely a little limited, and there is absolutely, as you'll notice, no bicep swivel to be seen. And while the elbow only goes that far, ooh boy, that's it? That's really it? Okay. It does rotate at the elbow that way to try to make up for not having any kind of a bicep swivel. You can see the big hinge in the wrist going into the hand here. So that is roughly what you're going to expect to find from this. And of course, it's going to spin. Hopefully he never has to bend down and pick anything up, because this is about as far forward as he's going to crunch. That's not really much at all, because he is completely devoid of any kind of ab crunch. And while the torso does give a reasonable range of motion kind of everywhere else, not forward. Not forward much at all. Looking down here, we can see how McFarlane Toys makes the groins for all of their figures, being done the same way here. And I just want to, oh, look, his leg is caught on the rubber there. Let's unstick it and see what he has for that. Ugh. Turn, you bugger. I'm really reefing on it. And he gets some. Goes from all the way out here to that. That's what he gets. Okay, not so great. And the leg goes forward that and back that. Really, is that it? Come on, stretch it. Okay, so the leg can go forward. He can do a kick about that high. And that's about as far out as the legs are going to go. I mean, I could push this one further, but the rubber gets in the way. So as you can see here, when you want his leg to go further up, well, that's what happens to the rubber. Okay, let's check the knee. The knee should be pretty... Oh, is that it? That's the sum total, and I'm actually bending his leg all the way up, too. So that's it. That is... Oh, my God. That's abysmal. It does rotate around in a circle, so I guess there's that. And then you've got the ankles, which he has ankle pivots. Ooh, looks like he stepped in poo. And you've got that foot articulation on that hinge. Goes up to there, down to there, and you've got his toes as well. They're also articulated. Okay, so I know that there's going to be those of you at home who were probably hoping that Doomsday had just a little bit more posability there. Yeah, I know I kind of was. But it is what it is, and we get what we get. Anyway, that would be my review of the Doomsday and Superman 2-pack from McFarlane Toys. What do you think? Do you think that this is a worthwhile purchase for you? Are you on the hunt for this? Did you get this? What did you think of it? Is it good or is it garbage? Let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you with the next one. Have yourself a DC day, everybody, and take care.